thanks everyone. I was listening to that bio and I was thinking, under the context of teamwork, all that organisational development stuff, all that fluffy stuff that we do in some organisations is great, but the thing that's given me the most insight into teamwork is actually leading a team. And leading a team, growing a business, and actually experiencing and applying all of the theories and the knowledge that I was teaching organisations for all those years. So this afternoon or this evening, a couple of hours with me. I'm excited. I hope you are too. We're going to get to know each other. You're certainly going to get to know a little bit more about yourself. So in the next 2 hours, I asked what were the last 2 years really focused on in terms of the teamwork session. And apparently it was great. So I hope nobody who went to those first 2 years is actually here and is comparing. And you don't need to see the footage from the last 2 years. But what came through was that it was great, but and it was inspiring and all those things, but was there something that I could truly take away and use? So when I was designing the session this afternoon, I thought, I want you to get an experience of working in a team. I want you to get an experience of understanding yourself and how you like to work, because I'm a firm believer, if you know yourself, you have the ability to understand and relate to others. And I want you to get an experience of what makes a great team, because over the next several weeks in your teams, and I'm curious, is everybody sitting in their teams that they've been? No, interesting. You're really going to get to know one another, and one way or another you're going to come out either really great buds and you've gone to war together and you can do anything, or you're just not going to like each other very much. And the first would be more preferable. So this afternoon, I really want to provide you with a common language that when you go back and you're really starting to do the storming, forming, norming process with your team and your mentor, you have something robust that you can discuss and start to create expectations with each other. Did anybody come here with a burning desire to achieve something in the next 2 hours that would be really useful for me to know? I'm all about expectation management. Yeah? No? So whatever I do in the next 2 hours is just going to be okay and fabulous? Oh my God, you guys are so compliant. I don't actually believe that, but we'll get on with it. The first part of the session is focused on DISC, and I believe everybody completed the DISC online tool. Thank you for that. I've got the reports. Marin's printed the reports. I know quite a lot about you all now. You'll all get a copy of your detailed reports at the end. The reason I didn't give them out at the beginning is because I don't want you to be distracted by the detail. I want you to experience the activities that I've got lined up for you and then go away and process the report. And the other thing I want to make really clear to you, I'm with you for 2 hours. That doesn't mean you can't contact me after the 2 hours, because there'll be stuff that comes up that you might want answers or assistance around, and I'll be making that same offer to the mentors as well. If there's something that someone doesn't understand, or they want some help to understand or clarify, please just get in touch with me, so I'll make sure that my contact details are readily available. So before we sent out the link to complete the online DISC profile, had anybody, other than the people that work with me on a day-to-day basis, have you ever completed DISC before? No? There's a couple. Similar-ish? Yeah, Myers-Briggs. Yeah, okay. So what is DISC? What is Myers-Briggs? Personality profiling, exactly. And what's personality profiling?
Identifying some strengths and some weaknesses for you as an individual.
Identifying strengths and weaknesses. Mm-hmm. A style.
In terms of how you talk to people
it's exactly that. It's a preference, and I'll run that home quite a few times this afternoon. It's designed to give you an understanding of the way that you prefer to operate. What it's not designed to be is to give you a label, and it's also not designed to stuff you in a box. You know, stuff you in a box that you're a D, or in Myers-Briggs that you're an ENTJ, or you're this or you're that. It's designed to highlight and create understanding of the way that you prefer to work. The way that you prefer to work on your own, the way that you prefer to work with others, how you show up under stress. In your ideal day, where do you flourish? But if you think of it in terms of a house, does everyone live in a house or something that resembles a building? Yeah? Does everyone have like a favourite spot? The beer fridge. Exactly. Does everyone use the kitchen at times? Is it your favourite spot? No. Ellie's like, no, it's not. Does everyone use the bathroom? Of course you do. The bedroom, the lounge room, you use all aspects of your house. But there'll be some places in that house that you prefer to hang out in. That's a personality profile tool. And those that create great self-awareness know that. And they know how to adapt and modify so that they can feel somewhat comfortable in any operating style. And a great leader can do that. So if I define success today for me as your facilitator, would be to help you create an understanding of what your comfortable place is, but start to raise your awareness of what you need to adjust so you get better outcomes. Because what's the definition of insanity? Yes, Albert Einstein said doing the same thing over and over but expecting a different result. So if you're really happy with all results in your life, maybe there's nothing to modify. But if you're not quite getting what you want in some areas, maybe this is a tool that can help you connect with other people much more effectively. So let's get into it. You guys know all the fire exits and the toilets and things like that. And you'll probably gauge it from me now. I like to wave my arms. I like to talk, but I love being asked questions. So you don't need to put your hand up, just fire them at me. And look, I don't know everything. My husband assures me that I don't. So if you ask me a question and it will be a good question, and I can't answer that, I'll make a note of it and get back to you. We call that a parking lot. So cool. So 2 hours is going to go really, really quickly. So DISC, what is DISC and what DISC is not? DISC profiles help us understand how we respond to conflict, improve working relationships, facilitate better teamwork, and develop stronger communication skills. We all can talk. Would that be true? We can all talk. But the great thing about a tool like DISC, and there's lots and lots of tools, DISC is not the silver bullet. It's one tool to create an understanding. Communication is not just what we say, right? It's how we say it, the tone, the inflections, the language that we use can invoke responses. They do. It invokes responses and understanding in others. So understanding more about us can help us consciously modify the way that we communicate with others, which will give us stronger working relationships. So DISC, how's the room temp? Is this normal? Because maybe it's the walking, the pacing, the arm waving, but I feel it's a bit warm. The last thing I want is snoring. Thank you, thanks. So DISC. Now, this is a quick summary before we move into some activities. Can everyone see that and read that? It's in focus? Cool. Alrighty. So if you come out, you'll come out as either a D, an I, or an S or C. Some of you have a secondary preference, and some of you have more than two preferences. Essentially what that means is you've got a favorite room. So you'll either be a D, an I, an S or a C, but closely followed you may have another element that you can operate in quite well. When you get your report, it'll give you a natural and an adapted, and it'll explain what that means. Essentially, it is what the title say. Natural is where you don't have to modify anything. That's the way that you prefer to operate. But some of you, it's interesting, quite a number of you have learnt to operate in a different way. Why do you think that's the case?
Different people that you interact with may not
Different.
get the same results.
So different people you interact with, you think that you need to operate
You might get
differently?
feedback from operating one way or maybe your natural way.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to change.
Mm-hmm. Any other ideas?
Different environments, I think would change that. So if you're in a workplace with 5 dominant people, you might not be able to be the dominant person. You might have to be the I or the C instead.
And the basis of emotional intelligence, so lots of studies have been done and the most effective leaders have high emotional intelligence. The foundation of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. So many of you have either subconsciously or you've been given the feedback and you've taken it on board and you've made conscious effort to adapt. But many of you have a difference between your natural and your adapted. Now, the interesting thing about that is it's great, but there's also a risk to that. And what is the risk?
That you come across fake, potentially.
That you may, and you guys did a thing on authentic leadership, right? Early, like really early on in your, that it may not be genuine is a risk. What else is a risk?
Could cause stress
To who?
to you.
Yeah.
Stepping outside of your sort of natural state.
Yes. So it's something to be aware of where we might be a high D and you'll start to create understanding. But because of your environment, the role that you're doing to get a good outcome, you may have to operate in a one of the other boxes there. The risk is when you do that over a prolonged period of time, it's extremely hard to sustain. So when you get your report, have a look if that's you and what the report's saying and see whether there's any truths in there for you. And remember, when you read the report, it's an indication. It may not be your absolute truth. So D's. D's is around dominance. D's, if you're a D, and I have 4 in the room, are results oriented. They can come across as very direct, can be labelled competitive, sometimes might be called your type A personalities. They're often the big personalities in the room, want to get cut straight to the chase. Your I's are usually quite big personalities as well, but they're more interested in building the connections with people first and then moving to action second. D's operating in a pure D mode aren't interested in what you did on the weekend. When I'm sharing some stories, and I'll share some stories about myself and my team, that you'll start to think about people in your life who operate like that. D's are straight to the point, unlikely to ask you anything of an emotive nature, very task oriented, where your I's are very people oriented. Usually the social butterflies in a scenario, great natural networkers. Your S stands for steadiness. They are very people oriented, but are often more reserved. So they're the ones in your teams that are usually highly sensitive to others, but may not be forthcoming in offering up their ideas. And your C's are all around the detail. They're around things have to be correct, quite black and white literal thinkers, great researchers, generally cautious, risk averse, contemplative by nature, and it is all about it being right, about it being accurate. Now, the interesting thing here is we've got quite a mix, and I'm about to share that mix with you. So before I get into more detail around what DISC is, I'm going to give you an experience of that. So when I call out your name, I'm going to get you to go to a table. So this is probably a really good time, if you've got bags and briefcases and things, to put them to the side of the room, because we're going to be moving around quite a bit. And own the room.
So we started by just spelling out methods of communication. So we spelled out verbal and email as two methods of communication. And then we started getting a bit deeper. So we're talking about like pragmatic, we like to be realistic, just straight out, don't fluff around, feelings and all that sort of stuff. Just keep it straight.
So to that end, we've constructed a bin for fluff. All the things that we don't really care about are in here.
We determined that we're quite direct and probably results oriented, so we'd like to get to the point, get to the end result, and achieve what we set out to achieve.
Great.
Left you with it.
Yeah.
With, like, certainly when we're under stress, like it comes back to that directness, we can lack empathy, and that's something we really need to be aware of.
We'll get into that in a moment. Thanks, guys. I love the fluff bin. So before we move on, I know this is a little bit clunky, but I'll just put up some key points about the D, because you've already covered off a lot of them. So,
Can I ask you guys a question? Would you prefer to be, like when someone's talking to you, for them to be direct?
they need to wear a t-shirt. No fluff. No fluff zone.
We were trying to sum up how, like, you know, like the goalpost keeps changing, and you're not, like, the environment, you're just like, we think we're there, but we're not really sure. That's the stuff we don't.
Short attention span, just play and get it out there.
Great question. So a little bit about the D. Self-directed with a strong sense of accountability. Always looking for better ways to solve complex problems, accepting and supporting of those on your team who demonstrate a quality effort. So quality is a big one. Generally high achievers, take pride in being ready for anything, goal setters, even when no goals are made explicit. So even if it's quite esoteric as to, for example, your project, you'll create goals because you just need them to direct your energy. You like to gain the respect of others by solving tasks yourself as well as delegating, always willing to help. Can be successful working independently or with others. All right, let's experience the I. 7 eyes in the room. Let's move over to the fluff table, shall we?
Is this our adaptive or natural?
Adaptive. This is your adaptive. Yes, you're adaptive. So work context. Yeah.
So we talked about we like to do things face to face, where it suits. We're not opposed to email and text, but face to face works well. And face to face always works well. So we put a face here and another face here, and it works well with the heart.
We also spoke about, I guess anyone can have a task and everyone's going to get there in their own way. But we spoke about, I guess, bringing everyone on the journey with us and building those relationships along the way. So we built our little blue bus, which feeds in nicely for some of the councils, the way that they deliver some of their values, training and speak to
Doesn't
that.
mean anything to anyone.
Yeah, but it means
It's
something more.
a proprietary program that's another offspin of just, I suppose, characterises how people involve each other and deal with each other at teamwork side of things. And the blue bus is simply just an analogy. You could call it a pink elephant, but it's essentially meaning having a bit of heart, respect and understanding to mutually work together to a common goal kind of thing, rather than the dominance approach, which is more of a red bus approach, which we aimed towards avoiding, and a call it. And yeah,
Off the
basically,
green bus, which is just mediocre, just do your job. And go
Amber
home.
obviously is
Right.
the only other person in this room that understands what
That's why our uniforms are blue.
Great. Any questions? Oh, is that the, yeah, is any questions for the eyes? Great. Well, a little bit more about the eyes. So you're known to generally be movers and shakers. You can think on your feet, so handle objections, questions and pressure with confidence. Generally a self-starter and an active agent in everything you do. Able to react and adapt quickly to change. Able to sell others on a variety of ideas and concepts. Able to delegate responsibility to others in an enthusiastic and personable way. Strong sense of urgency to get things done expediently. So very relationship oriented. They don't mind generally a little bit of fluff. A lot of heart, a lot of feelings they get it. They read them. They generally eyes read the state of play in terms of how people are feeling quite just easily. But they still are quite task oriented, outcome focused. All right, the S's are up. Let's move on down the back and then we'll have a look at what we say about the S's. Gather round.
So this is our very advanced Lego skills. I think we probably spent more time playing with Lego than we did discussing the problem. So basically, this HunterNet is how we like to receive information. So we like to get the whole picture, make sure we know everything so it helps us make an informed decision. This side of it is how we like to give information. So I guess you'd say we like to filter it in a way, hence the window, in terms of start with, okay, I've made this decision, this is the reason I made the decision, of prioritise, this was the most important part, and this is sort of the by the way, this was an influence as well. And then the reason we've positioned our little people side by side is because we like to work with people, we like to be involved in a team. You want to add anything to that? Really well. Yeah.
What frustrates the S's?
If you don't have all the information up front, if people probably filter it for us, we'd probably get a bit frustrated by that.
So you want lots. You want, like you said, Jackie, give me the whole picture and I'll figure out what's important and connect it.
I think it's also frustrating from my point of view when you're trying to organise a team and you're trying to get everyone on board and then there's one or two people that just aren't on the same page and you can't get them on the same page, and that's a frustrating for me.
probably usually those bloody D's.
Those bloody things. They're off doing their own thing.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about that towards the end. I did send a video link around if you got a chance to watch that. We're going to talk about that concept of 5 dysfunctions of team, because commitment is the third platform to a high performing team, whether they be an SD, I or a C, and how you get to a place of commitment is your responsibility actually. So if you don't, for the S's, if you don't have enough information, you have a choice, right? You either go get it or you sit there and, in your way, stress, retract from the process, be annoyed, but you've got a choice. So we'll relate that into the 5 dysfunctions of teams. Thank you. So just do your spinny spin again. So steadiness, strengths, maintain a high degree of accuracy. So if you want someone who can take vast amount of information and make sense of it and start to construct meaning, these are your guys, your S's. They provide valuable input on projects by considering pitfalls. But do you remember that circle that I put up earlier? And the S's were down in they were down this side. So they're on the relationship angle, but what were they also? Reserved. So they've got valuable input, but they're often reserved. So be really mindful, particularly you Ds, about not listening to the value of that others can bring. Especially be careful that there are no loose ends. They don't like a lot of ambiguity. Be patient in working with them, but they are very patient in working with others. They are methodical. They are great teachers, great coaches. They are quite methodical in their thinking. And because they're natural relationship builders too, they're great teachers. Strong guardian of quality control. Quality is very important. Supportive of team efforts. May be sought after because of your complete knowledge of processes and procedures. So there'll be often the people in the organisation that just naturally become a go-to for answers around certain things, whether it's actually their core job or not. You think about the people that you just go to because you know they can give you that quick answer and what style they might be. All right, last one, C's.
Alright, so we talked about really
Dazzle us.
how we like quite some structure and result as well, and probably not much obstruction in the way, or probably fluff as well. So really, the road's our structure, our path, our little car with our result at the end of the road, and then the fluff on the side. So.
Okay, awesome.
Sorry, what's that little start?
Fluff.
Fluff.
So yeah, we just want the information there, you know, that it's there, it's structured, and it's not much in the way, so we can just read it, gather it, and then get away with it.
Okay, great. All right, let me just see what we can also learn about C's. So you remain objective even in emotional situations. So where in high stressful situations, the C's are often the last ones to visibly react. If given the opportunity, didn't know that typo there. If given the opportunity, will meet and maintain high standards, bring a unique combination of accuracy and intuition, make decisions based on factual data, technically skilled, highly proficient in your area of speciality, frequently seen as an expert, provide significant input to projects and processes, and alert to potential problems and controls when necessary. Thank you, everyone. Go back to the tables that you were at with your letters, and we're going to move on to learning about how to communicate well to one of the other profiles.
What are you, Lyndall?
What do you think I am? If you had to guess, what do you think I might be?
You must be an I because you're such a nice person.
Because I'm such a nice person. It could be an adapted I. No, I am an I. I'm an ID. I used to be a D. My D used to be higher, actually. And that was purely a product of the environment that I was in. Lots of type A personality, so it was literally a developed survival mechanism. My absolute sweet spot is playing in the I space, and my secondary is D. So if things aren't getting done, I will become quite directive. Just ask my husband. After 22 years of marriage, he's still hangs around. Sorry?
Is it a natural thing, or is it something that could be educated, influenced, ingrained in you? You like, obviously you've changed, you can change your position from D to I to C.
Yes, and that's the activity we're going to go on and do now. So to answer your question, you can absolutely play in any space. So I know when I need to focus on the detail, which I need to do. This is not washing my hands. I'm an I like, get me out in front of people, let me chat, let me face-to-face meet, love it. But I can't do that day in, day out. No one can just do that. So when I've got to read, for example, legal documents, there's a particular chair in our office that I know, okay, when I've got to be in that detail, when I've got to be that S and that C in review and be on quality and not talky talks, I take myself off to that chair. So it's about knowing the strength of playing to one of those preferences for the context you need to operate in. So if you're in a position where building relationships is fundamental to getting a great outcome, but you're not an I or an S, you need to learn that. And to my point about risk before, all it means is that if you have to do that a lot and it's not where your happy place is, you just need to counteract that with making sure you construct your week so you have time doing what comes naturally to you. Otherwise you can't sustain it. Does that answer your question? Yeah. One of the great OD specialists that I still admire to this day, when he stands up in front of the room, you would think that he's an I, and he's so not an I. He's just learnt to be like that, to be able to educate and train. Yeah. Okay, so what are you motivated by? The Ds are motivated by time to react to sudden changes, so you can usually think and respond quite quickly. Direct factual answers, so absolutely no fluff. Things being done correctly the first time. You don't like people pretending that they know. You don't like guesses. You like freedom from control and close scrutiny. You do not like to be micromanaged. You want lots of elbow room. You're motivated by high standards of quality and immediate results. The influencers are motivated by a system of support to assist with details, environments that offer variety, communication with variety of contacts. They like to be recognised. They like to be accepted as an important member of the group. They like to have a strong, visible group or organisation to identify with. Our S's are motivated by appreciation for competence and work ethic, supportive and encouraging environment, minimal conflict. They like lots of harmony, established procedures, moderate to high levels of security, sufficient time to adjust to change, minimal disruption. And our C's are motivated by a supportive home life, free of our work demands, and they like to be sincere. They like projects that are supporting of natural curiosity and detail orientation. They like to be allowed to demonstrate their skills and competence. They value links to traditional success, and they value knowledge about products and services that are of the highest quality. They value complete explanation of processes. Your reports are about 20 pages long. There's graphs, there's text, so it meets a variety of preferences, but there's lots and lots of information for you to take home and read. There's now another activity that I want you to do, because that activity was designed for you to think about how you like to give and receive information. This activity is about you thinking about how you relate best to another style. So I'm going to give you a challenge. As the instructions up there says, you've got 3 minutes to develop a pitch to sell a product that I'm going to give you. And I'm also going to give each preference the preference that you're selling to. Okay. So the D's, you're going to sell to the S's. And you get to choose whether or not you're selling them a Maserati, a diamond ring, or a $500 orchid. The I's, you're selling to the C's, and you're selling them a skydive adventure, shares in a startup company, a new wonder drug that claims to turn sugar into vitamins. The S's, you're selling to the D's. You get to choose between a jar of peanut butter, a ream of A4 paper, or a computer mouse. And the C's, you're selling to the I's, and you're selling them either a silent yoga retreat, a mindfulness app, or a guinea pig. I gave them out, let's just do that. All right, so the D's are selling to the S's. Over to you, where you stand, how you do this.
Yeah. Expensive, valuable, prestigious, reliable. What comes to mind when I say those words? A Maserati car. You won't need a diamond ring or a $500 orchid, because
is you'll be driving around in a Maserati, the most prestigious, well-established, best car on the market.
Are you buying? Are you buying?
We have enough information about how it's going to make my life better.
How can we make your life better? With a Maserati?
So you'd like more information? What's in it for me? Jackie?
I'm just thinking, like, know your audience. Why would I want a car when I can have a diamond?
Oh, we just went off the fact that diamonds worth on average, say, like 10 grand, but the car's worth 250.
10 grand.
So you're up. You're not better off.
More commission for you guys?
Commission, it's about what you get out of it.
Yeah.
And it is our opinion that it's much better purchase. You can, with a diamond, what are you buying? Just a diamond that you'll put somewhere, you'll never see it again. Lose it somewhere. With a car, it'll be sitting out there every morning for half of your life. And even better, as it gets older, it will gain in value.
I'm buying a little bit more now.
Are you? Boys?
I don't know if it will go up in value at the time.
We're assuming it's going to come vintage. Collector's item. We're in for
Faster than the
we're in it for the long haul.
So, everybody else, is there anything that you think that, what did you think they did well?
Straight to the
There's
point.
something.
Straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
No fluffing around.
No fluffing around.
I think they really tried to get the information out there that,
They
that
did.
thought was required, and they gave it in a very simple, direct manner.
Mhm.
It was clear and concise.
So, what's something that if they get another crack at this, thinking about their audience, that they could improve?
We probably should have asked them more about how they're feeling and questions and things like that.
More detail.
Yeah.
More detail.
Seat
I think it's more detail.
More detail? Maybe even what they're interested in.
Maybe the delivery, not as strong as possible. That's just very deep. Look at them in their pockets.
Guys, you did well.
One of the things I noticed is they said they told these guys what was the best purchase for them. We told you this is the best purchase. Why are you asking us? We're telling you this is it.
Flower shop.
Yeah. Yeah. Great observations. Thank you, guys. Yeah, kicking that off. By the way, not easy, but important. Important. Eyes, you're selling to the C's. How are you going to do that?
Have you ever wondered what it's like to fall 12,000 feet from a plane? But you're scared. You don't know what it's going to feel like. You don't know if it's safe. Well, meet our team here at Team I Skydiving. We're the most trusted, most reliable. We have an unblemished safety record. Firstly, meet our instructor.
G'day guys, I'm your instructor and qualified parachute rigger. I've got over 40 years experience in the game and I've done over 148,000 jumps. I've had 18,000 clients like yourselves. We've got all quality safety auditing processes on board and I'm your first point of contact in the morning. 30-minute safety induction and training to make you feel comfortable with how our processes run and go you through all the details of the day. 1 minute free fall, 12,000 feet jump, followed by a 2 simulation before we hit the skies with our trusty pilot.
Over to our pilot. Our pilot has the most experience of any pilot in the industry.
That's right. Thank you very much, Trish. And I was skydiving. I'm one of the best pilots around. I've done about 68,000 hours, flying hours, safe as they come. We'll climb to 12,000 feet within about 6.5 minutes, and we'll hit a nice steady level, and then our parachute rigger will instruct you on how to jump safely. And all the best, guys. Good luck.
And if you're still not sure, how about a testimonial from one of our previous customers?
I thought I was going to be scared, but everyone really reassured me. They're the best in the industry, and I felt really safe. It was exhilarating.
Well, come fly with us. You're in safe hands.
Other brands of parachute jumping.
Ah,
Never as happy as that.
well done. C's,
So.
you signing up? You're in?
I thought it was great how they like zone in on the safety and mitigate the risk and everything. But I'm not sure why I'd take that risk. There was no end goal there for me, really. So you're focusing on the safety, but I'm still like, why would I do it?
Interesting. So you're sold.
Yeah, I'd go.
You go. Alice?
I like the consistency in the thread. So there was safety across the board. It was consistent. It was a nice even pace. So yeah, I was fairly sold. But I did with Aaron. I was like, you're gonna have to sell why I would take such a risk.
The curiosity.
Yeah. So like the opt-in factor.
Okay. Observations from everybody else? How they went?
I was
Yeah.
impressed with how they structured that pitch within 5 minutes. Like, 5 minutes wasn't a lot of time to
Yeah, pretty organised.
Yeah.
that was good going.
And that they all took roles.
Yes.
In delivering that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Very creative.
Very
So
creative,
just
very
made my
impressive.
life so
You can
lots
check
of-
out our YouTube channel.
I like the box. Yeah.
Yeah, but True Eyes didn't stick to the 1 minute pitch. I think we went. I'm okay with that, by the way. I'm way over time. I'm okay with that. Yeah, great. I thought you really spoke to your audience. I thought it was very clever that you did take time to explain the quality, the risk, the process, who exactly you would be dealing with for what. Yeah. Impressive, and you sold some. So S's, now what are you doing? You're selling to these guys. So you've bought some Maseratis, and now you're going to sell something back to them. So over to you to, amaze them.
So D's, I could tell you peanut butter is the world's favourite spread, and I could tell you it's an Aussie-made icon, and I could tell you it's a cost-effective meal. Thank you. What? All you care about is it's the last meal you'll ever need to know. You can have it for breakfast, you can have it smooth, you can have it crunchy, you can have it for lunch, and you can have it for dinner. And it's the perfect meal. You don't have to think about anything else to do. That's it.
Not after that, it's Aussie made, it's cost effective, it has a very good reputation. So you're silly with that last.
Righto, there you go. D's.
What's their alternative?
What's their alternative?
Peanut butter or nothing?
Also, isn't Vegemite more of a
It's so versatile. You can use it. You don't need anything else.
Yeah, almond peanut butter is more American.
Yeah, it is. Also, I have to kind of strike you down for not bringing up fluff at the start, because there was a lot of fluff about this fluff.
you sold?
I'll up
So-
it, I'll
Okay. Okay. Observations?
I would have brought up the different types of bread you could have it on, the seeds, the sourdough, all the things. So it was very direct to the audience. Yeah, I liked it.
It was good that it was quick, so you kept it relatively short.
You did.
That's what
I thought the eyes were harder to follow.
No, I thought it was good that it was very direct,
Yeah.
very straight to the point.
Yeah, and they'd thought about that, you know, they had a bin for the fluff, so let's put it in there first and just straight to the point.
Yeah, that's right.
But you still got that information in there.
I thought that was clever. Very
Yeah, yeah.
And the dominant nature likes factual information. So
Yeah.
Did you have alternatives, or did you have to sell us peanut butter?
No, they had A4 paper or a computer mouse.
we didn't have much to choose from.
We didn't have a Maserati and peanut butter, we chose peanut butter.
Very good. Agree. Yeah, you just short, sweet, to the point. A few little options in there, highlighting the versatility of the product and what's in it for them. All right, we'll finish off with the C's. Now, the C's are selling to the eyes. And their options were a silent yoga retreat, a mindfulness app, or a guinea pig.
So I'm going to do this. Hi, my name's Tim. May I join you? So I represent the if you guys heard about a guinea pig readoption and rehoming program that we're currently going on. So we have this beautiful, cute little guinea pig, isn't she so cute? This poor little guinea pig has had a very tough life. We found her on the side of the road, unwanted. She needs to be rehomed, and I feel that you guys would make a perfect home for this little guinea pig. She's friendly with the family. If you don't have kids, she can be your little practice baby. She needs someone to look after her and to feed her and nourish her. And by taking her on, that gives us an opportunity to help more guinea pigs in our guinea pig rehoming program. And we would really like you to take this off our hands and look after her and make her your own.
Wow, yes.
Well done. Well done. Eyes, what did he nail? What did they nail with that?
Personal.
Yep. Straight up, the personal touch.
The emotions.
The language, the beautiful appeal to their heartstrings. Yeah. Them feels. I was buying. I'll take her. Yeah, take her a guinea pig. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't even
Yeah.
matter what it was, I was still on the hand. I trust him, I'm in.
Yeah.
How was it as a group coming up with your strategy?
It was pretty simple. We only had silent yoga and
A mindfulness app.
app. I think none of those people would really need anything like that.
Okay.
We took the point.
But we need the guinea pig.
Energized by a silent yoga retreat because there'd be no interaction.
Yeah.
Similarly with the mindfulness app, you'd be on your own. So the guinea pig gives something for everyone.
So you thought about your product choice. Clever. And what about your strategy? Beyond that.
Well, as like what you said, it was appealing at the heartstrings and making them try and we're selling them, get them on the hook on the emotional level and how like they like to have be an important member. So being an important member for the guinea pig.
For the
itself,
guinea pig.
you know, and strong and visible. So we went over there and the personal touch on that.
Very clever. Observations?
They were targeting it perfectly to that group, and yeah, I liked saying why they chose between the
They're the products.
I thought that was really interesting.
Physical interaction, obviously, that was something that separated that from the rest of it.
Yeah, went out of their way to make a connection with each person. Well done. Anything else? You've all got a guinea pig?
Yeah.
Whether you thought you'd ever be a guinea pig owner or not? Yeah.
We can, because, you know, it's the story behind it, so we can help further guinea pigs in the future.
Fantastic. So what's the key? Just throw me some key takeaways from that activity. Know your audience. Actually, it doesn't matter about what you need and what your preference is when you need to sell something or get buy-in from somebody else. It's actually got nothing to do with you and everything to do with those that you need to connect with. The only thing it has to do with you is that you know what you would like to do and you adjust to see is that actually a good idea or not. So know your audience. What else? Adapt your style for your audience. What else? Talk to the product.
And then, you know, if they really view the product and that it's going to suit us better than something else.
And big tip when it comes to doing your pitches, know your judges. Figure out how to know your judges, what styles they are, and how you set up your pitch to appeal to each of those people.
I think that's key. One of the things we decided is that we wouldn't read it, so whether or not we forgot one or two things is not as important.
Didn't matter.
As eye contact in that particular one.
Yes, exactly. What are the key takeaways?
I think regardless of kind of what group you were dealing with, there were comments around finding out what they want before you do the pitch, if possible.
Yeah.
To tailor it to the needs.
Yeah. And clearly this was constructed to be difficult. So if you think about it, generally the way it's constructed is the product you're required to sell is the product you'd actually be interested in. Or not, but that's what it's designed to sell to the furthest from you. So when you get your reports, you'll learn about the dichotomy in terms of the wheel. And it's not only the letter, but there's a degree of the letter as well. So some Ds will be higher Ds than others. And all that is an indication of is how easy you find it to adapt. So the general thing is if you're closer to the epicenter, it's when you get your diagrammatical representation of where you're plotted, it's easier to move. Where you're on the outer rim, it's a much more conscious effort to adjust. Any other final takeouts on that session before we move on?
It was great to have that information.
It was great to have that information, yeah.
I think sometimes you can pick who the people you work with, but often you'll have no idea. So that's always going to be tricky.
So to that point, unless you go and ask everybody that you work with to undertake a DISC profile, how else could you start to figure out what their preferences might be?
Listen to the way they talk to you.
Their language. Watch what they do. Watch how they react. Yeah. Do they use fluff and emotions and go out of their way to connect with people, or are they more likely to hit their desk and be banging stuff out before they've said good morning to anyone? What is their general way of operating will be a strong indicator of what their preferences are. The important thing is here, one is not better than the other, they just are. So one is not more important than others. They're all contextual. And when you get back into your teams and look at what you all are, that's the key there, is how do you maximise what you have in your team in terms of the diversity of the mix. One is not better than the other.
So if you've got a room full of, say you've got 20 people, there are a quarter of each of them, what's the ultimate style to sort of tap into all 4 of them?
Sorry, what was the question, Marty?
Oh, so if you've got a room, you're talking a room of people or your team and you've got 20 people in there, say there are a quarter in each of them, try to think how do you adapt your style to tick every box to appeal to everyone? Yeah, I was thinking that'd be pretty hard.
Oh, look, as a facilitator, it's about knowing that not everyone's like me. There's got to be detailed information available for those that like detail. You have to, with big groups and big audiences, you have to flex and adjust. You have to allow time for the thinkers to think and those that need action and fast pace to move. But it's the awareness that there are a diverse range of styles is the first thing, and read your audience. Like, see how they're reacting to you, and then you'll know. Yeah.
Is there any sort of thinking or research around, like I guess, organisations, or say like you throw a whole lot of kids in a camp, do the different personalities tend to mix together, or do they sort of go into the 4 different quadrants? And in industry, do a bunch of, C's work better together, or do you need a mix of personalities?
There's lots and lots of research. I don't know about the schools, but there is lots of research to indicate certain roles in organisations are a better place with certain preferences. So just think work health safety, think quality, think risk. People who can operate in that SC dimension are without draining themselves energetically, are going to operate, they're more attracted to those roles, usually in the first place. Whereas your sales, your ops leaders, roles that are more communicative are generally going to attract people who like that. But take like a CEO. A CEO who's a D is not a better CEO who might be a C or an S. A great CEO is somebody who can operate in all of those areas when needed. Any great leader is someone who can flex across those areas when needed.
And Lindell, thinking about teams, is it good to have a mix of people so that you're covering all bases when you're trying to achieve a task?
Absolutely. And for the talkers in the group, and I don't say that in a judgmental way, but those that are usually highly expressive, just are more extroverted, just be mindful of who's not talking, because the ones that aren't talking, it's incredible what they see and the ideas that they come up with. So in your teams, that's one thing to discuss, is how you ensure everyone has a voice. And that's one thing I want to move on to in terms of looking at the 5 dysfunctions of teams as well. Absolute strength in diversity. Everybody hears lots of drums being beaten around diversity. It's often gender diversity. But diversity is much broader than race, sex, religion, and all of that. Diversity is diversity. True diversity is diversity of thinking. And there's, if I had you for a whole day, I'd give you far more experiences of the tragedy when you just have a team of Ds or a team of S's or C's, versus getting teams together with a mix and the outcomes that you can achieve.
I was going to ask.
Strength in diversity.
I was going to ask a question like the flip side of, Caitlin, if these guys, as all Ds, were one of the project teams, would that be very toxic?
If all the Ds were in one project team?
Yeah.
Well, let's just see how that plays out when we get back into our teams. It's too much of one style is a risk. Because you need a mixture, you need the D energy to get through to the goal, right? There's strength in that when there's enough partying going on, enough relationship builders. Actually, now we've got to get on task. Yeah. But you need those watching and the information and connecting the dots to actually make meaning of the concepts that you come up with. So let's see how the teams are mixed up when you get into them. All right, so under stress. Now there's lots of information in your reports around this, but this is something, again, there's two key takeouts is learn more about what you're not and know what you're likely to be like under stress, because your project, there's going to be stress points. Okay? So I'm not going to even read that because we're running short of time, but take time in your report to have a look at what you could show up like when you're under stress. Now I'm going to do a final activity before we bring this baby home. I'm going to break. Okay, what I'd like you to do is just flip over the piece of paper that's still on your table. And I'd like you and your team to start, if you need a fresh one, just let me know. I've got plenty. I want you to start talking about these things. What is a team? What does a great team look like? And what does a dysfunctional team look like? Just start talking about it, listing a few points for me. The cheese platter and the beer fridge is calling. So let's finish the session off. So what I'd like to do is get you to talk about, is everyone right? You guys good? Ready to go? No, it's all good. Okay, so the first question is, what is a team? What did you come up with? Just randomly call it out. What is it? A collection of people working towards a common goal. Anyone get anything different or add on? Yep. Guys, one conversation. Working towards a common goal. A collection of unique skills and personalities. Is that a team or is that what a good team?
No, I think the team, everyone's got different skills.
So what's the difference between that and a group? Is there a difference between a group and a team? Purpose. Yeah. Anything else up the back table?
We just broaden it to entities. If you have not just people in your team.
So an entity. So it could be
more than one entity to achieve a common goal.
To achieve a common goal. So
For example, a dog might be your team.
Exactly. Yeah. So so what is it that is the common thread there? What is the defining factor? The goal, the purpose. You know, there's one thing to enjoy each other's company. That potentially is a group of people, versus a team that's there to actually come together to do something. What does a great team look like? Hit me.
Diversity.
Diversity of what?
Skills. Well, D-I-S-N-C.
Strengths and weaknesses, I think.
Yeah, we've got 60% I, and we're missing an S. Is any team?
You got to trade?
I don't want to trade that my team, but is anyone got a full complement of D-I-S-N-C? You guys.
Yeah.
So we had trustworthy, respectful, honest, accountable to each other, good communication.
Self-awareness.
Good self-awareness. Anything else? Commitment.
Fun. Open to ideas.
Clear roles.
Clear roles. So you know what you're there fundamentally to do. You know what you're going to be held accountable around.
Know how you're going to contribute to the team's gold.
Yep.
But purpose was one of our second one. Like our
Okay.
second
Can
word.
you hear that up the back? Yep, you can hear it. Great. Anything else on what a great team looks like?
Shared vision, great team culture, fun.
You can just tell a great team. Just the energy, the respect, the way they work, the way they allow each other space, time to talk, time to think. You can see it. Yeah. And the judges will be watching for that. It is, as you would see in your project brief, it is part of how they mark you. It's how you work together. So be mindful of that. It's not a LindellFogarty.com show. It's a Glenrock show. It's a Mount Sugarloaf, is it? Mount Sugarloaf, is that another one? Yeah, show. Fantastic. Now, what about a dysfunctional team? What does it look like?
No accountability.
No accountability.
Making things personal.
Yes.
No trust.
No trust.
Unorganised.
When you don't have trust, what does it look like?
Dysfunctional.
Fair call. It's been a long day. Dysfunctional.
It's a group of people working in silos. Yeah. Not talking to each other.
Yeah, talking.
It can look like that, Tim, can't it?
People want to leave.
Whatever. Yes. Yeah. Dysfunctional. And it might not be overtly, but you can be sure there's some undermining going on there, even if you're just simply shutting down and not buying in. If you don't buy in, it's pretty damn hard to hold each other accountable and achieve the goal that you're there for to do.
Yeah, non-committal.
Non-committal. And there's a difference between showing up and really showing up around commitment too. And that little video clip I sent around, that was the purpose of highlighting sitting in a meeting and who's actually really buying in. What else does a dysfunctional team look like?
Lots of egos and competition.
Competition.
We had probably similar, emotionally unaware.
Emotionally unaware.
And siloed, like working towards your own goal, not the whole goal.
So this is somewhat of a rhetorical question, but I want you to think about that. And one thing I highly encourage is you talk about it as a team. Is you've just told me all these great things about what a team that's working well looks like and what a team that's not working well looks like. So one thing I want you to contemplate is if you see the dysfunction in your team, how as a team are you going to respond to that? Because the pressure's going to be on over the next few weeks. It's an exciting project. It's something that you're doing on top of already busy lives and multiple commitments, I'm sure. Pressure's going to be on. And to achieve a great outcome, you need to figure out your roles, figure out how to hold each other accountable, what your expectations are of each other, and when those expectations aren't being met, how you as a team respond to that. When you get into the project, it's quite easy to lose sight of what you're actually here to do. And this is a leadership program. So although you're there to deliver something, don't lose sight of the fact that you're here to develop your leadership. So on that note, I want to just put up a really pretty diagram. Oh, that's right. I did it like this. This is the 5 dysfunctions of team. I gave you the name of the book. For those who are interested, there's lots of YouTube clips and summaries that you can Google. 2 great books by the guy Patrick Lencioni, 5 dysfunctions of a team and 5 dysfunctions of a CEO, which can translate to any leader. They're only short reads, really, really valuable stuff. It's built like a pyramid because if any of the layers below are muddy, you ain't going to achieve the top one. So they're designed to build on one another, and it all starts with trust. And I'm not talking about that you look like a good guy and you look like you're trustworthy. I'm talking about the ability to be vulnerable in front of another person. The ability to say, I'm struggling. I said that I do that, but I haven't got it done. That's being vulnerable, and great teams know how to do that. Okay? That is a personal one. That is the way you build great trust. So it's about being vulnerable, being authentic, and being holding self accountable. The next one around a dysfunctional team cannot have conflict. Conflict is good when it's about the idea, not the person. There's a difference. Healthy debate, and you should be in that process or kicking that process off, is discussing ideas, debating the strengths and everything around those ideas. You want that. Because if you allow that healthy debate to happen, that healthy expression of difference to happen, that's where the great ideas come from. When you express something, Trish, and I might not agree with it, but it sparks something for me. You set that environment up where you can be safe with each other because you trust each other. That's where you get great ideas and great debate. The next one is a lack of commitment to the decision. So you're going to have to get to a point where you have to decide. And even if it's not the idea that you personally came up with, at some point you're in a team, you've got to give it over and agree to the team's decision and work out how you evaluate and land on that team decision. The important thing is here, which is what I was reiterating earlier with the quieter ones in your group, build your trust, have the open conversations and debate and get your different perspectives. Allow people to have a voice so that you can then fully commit to the group decision. The next one is a lack of accountability. You can't have accountability if you don't have commitment. Because if people haven't fully bought in, they won't hold themselves accountable. So it starts with me first. I've got to hold myself accountable before I can hold others accountable. And then the final one is lack of clarity of the goal. Get really clear on what your goal is and what the incremental goals are along the way. Build your trust. Don't discount for those that aren't that don't like the fluff. Don't discount the value of a bit of fluff and a bit of beer drinking, story swapping in the early days to get that. Whatever you need to do to fully trust the people in your team. Because when it comes to crunch time, when you're pumping out that report and developing your pitch, those early foundations that you lay will serve you well. But be really clear on what the goal is. And your project actually gives you some goals, but you actually have to determine what the goals are of the team to get you to that end point. The last thing I want to leave with you is don't think being nice and not expressing your opinion around something is helping your team. Consensus is the death of teams. Consensus is the death of teams. You need to express what you think and then get to a commitment of an idea. But any point along the way, if you have a difference of opinion, you need to be able to express it and then at some point have the discussion and move on. But just agreeing because it's easier is not potentially the best leadership decision. So great teams trust each other, have healthy debate, commit to a decision, hold each other accountable, and they're very clear on why they're there and what they're there to do. Any final thoughts, comments, questions, pearlers, difficult scenarios you want to throw my way?
So consensus is the death of teams. What happens if you got someone in a team that doesn't like conflict.
That doesn't like conflict?
Yeah, so
Avoids conflict?
Yeah.
So if you've got someone in your team that doesn't like conflict, what could be strategies that the team put in place to make sure that they speak up? What could you do? Exactly. So what Elise said was invite them into the conversation, ask them, what do you think? And be mindful of how you react to a difference of opinion, because that's the quickest way to shut down a conversation or develop a competitive environment, is to go at loggerheads and shut down somebody else's opinion by making it personal in particular. To disagree is great, but disagree around the idea, but allow that person to have explained themselves rather than cutting them off. And that's probably the thing that the most vocal need to be aware of. You need to sit on your hands sometimes. Yeah, and you will feel impatient at times. That word was mentioned by Dee around that activity. You can feel impatient because it doesn't feel like it's moving on quickly enough. But you've got to allow and be mindful of others in your team to go through their thinking and express themselves. So if they don't, lots of people don't like conflict, but it's remembering why and the benefit of it, and not making it about the person. It's not about Trish and I, it's about the idea. It's about, well, I think if we went this way, this would be the benefit.
Do you think it's important to have defined roles within the team and to set those roles early on?
I think it's really important, Trish, to have the conversation around what you think your strengths are. Around the subject matter, your skills, have those conversations and then start thinking about whether there are defined roles, being aware of the strengths, and some roles will become really clear and others will be more jack of all trades that are happy to jump in and do several different things. Have the conversation around what your preferences are in terms of style, but also your day job and what knowledge and skills you just have. Yeah. Anything else before you go forth and take over the boardrooms of the Hunter? No. Wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure. I have your reports. I will. I don't know your names. You know my name. I know a few names. So we'll figure out how we give those out. But there's cheese up the back. Wayne isn't there. Wayne's gone and stocked the beer fridge. I believe a couple of you are catching up now. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'll get the reports.